All right, we're going to work through this problem. If we're given the pOH, how can we find the H plus, OH minus, and the pH? There are 4 equations that relate these various variables. We know that pOH plus pH equals 14. We know that pH equals the negative log of the H plus, and we know that the pOH equals the negative log of the OH minus concentration. From the last 2 equations that I just wrote, you can actually find H plus and OH minus by rearranging them, a little bit of algebra. So if we look at this, essentially let's take the negative on the other side. All right, so negative pH is equal to the log of the H plus by taking the negative on the other side. And then to get to the H plus, to solve for H plus, we have to take the inverse log of both sides. So I need the inverse log of the negative pH, and that's going to be equal to the H plus. Well, on your calculator, it's the second function or the shift function of your log button, your log button, and you may notice that it's labeled 10 to the x because that's what an inverse log is. So technically this is 10 to the minus pH equals the H plus. So if I have the pH value, I can find the H plus concentration by taking the inverse log of the negative pH value. Same thing for pOH. If I want to find the OH minus, that ends up being the 10 to the negative pOH value. And so this is just a matter of punching through these. I'm starting with a pOH of 11.64, so the quickest one for me to find would be 14 minus 11.64 is my pH. Plug that into your calculator and you get 2.36, and that is your pH. On a problem such as this, you're going to match it with item number 7. Be careful, they may be in a slightly different order if this is a question on your practice set. Now, to get the OH minus and the H plus, we're going to use these 2 equations. Oops, wrong ones. Hang on. We're going to use these 2 equations. All right. As long as you don't use the rounded values, I could do an H plus times OH minus, because there's one more equation. H plus times OH minus. If I multiply these 2, I get 1 times 10 to the minus 14. I could use this equation. Once I had an H plus, I could use it to get OH minus, etc. But it's just easier to solve for those highlighted equations. So I've got the 2.36 sitting here on my calculator. That is the pH value. So I'm going to take the inverse log of negative 2.36. My H plus is the 10 to the minus 2.36, and I punch that in on my calculator as the inverse log of negative 2.36, and I get this. And then I'm going to look for that rounded value. How about 4.4 times 10 to the minus 3? That was my H plus. Again, be a little careful when you're picking these. If this is on your practice set, the numbers may be different. And then the OH minus. That's going to be 10 to the minus my pOH value, which was given in the problem as 11.64. So punch that in, and I get 2.2908 ... times 10 to the minus 12. So let's look for that rounded value. I see 2.3 times 10 to the minus 12. Again, on my matching, it's number 4, so I'm gonna pick number 4 for that guy.